Can you move to Mexico if you don't know Spanish? That's the question we're going to answer right now. The quick answer is that yes, you can live down in Mexico without knowing Spanish. There are definitely places where you can live where there's a lot of English-speaking locals, or you could live in an expat community where it's just all native English speakers. Totally possible to live in Mexico without knowing Spanish. But what if you wanted to live in a place where it wasn't like that? Could you still live in Mexico without knowing Spanish, even though you're in an environment where everybody around you is speaking Spanish? Well, you can, and I have some tips to help you with that. One is that, so if you want to live in a place where, it's mostly Spanish speakers, but you don't speak Spanish, there are some apps you can use that are really going to help you. And I'll link down in the description box, give you some discount codes for them as well, so you can get started and get some really good deals. But consider that you can get your groceries and all of your restaurant food delivered straight to you using things like Didi or Rappi or Uber Foods. Again, codes down in the description box. You can use also Walmart delivery, or there's some places that just use WhatsApp delivery, so you can just talk to them on WhatsApp. There's lots of ways to get your food without actually having to speak Spanish. You could also just go to the big supermarkets like the Chedrauis, the Megas, the Sam's Club and the Walmarts, and you can just see the prices right there. You don't really need to ask people about them. You can just pick up the food, take it up to the scanner, they'll scan it for you. Well, what about renting? Can you really rent in Mexico without knowing Spanish? Yes, although you are going to pay a little bit more of a higher price for it, unless you're able to, use a translator or something like that. Now, this is because there are a lot of places in Mexico that aren't advertised online. They'll just have a sign up on the door, or you'll see a sign on a post that says, like, call this number, and you can talk about rent. Of course, it's all in Spanish, and the person you call would be speaking in Spanish as well. And so if you have Spanish skills, you can negotiate rent with those people and get a much better rate. However, there are still places to find things to rent without having to know Spanish. There are lots of Facebook groups you could look up. So you could, if you're in Cozumel, for example, just type in Cozumel Renta, and that will bring up, different groups about what's for rent in Cozumel, and you might be able to just speak to people directly through the Messenger or through WhatsApp, and that way you can use a translator and try to get a good price that way. But if you're just renting through a place like Airbnb, like I am here, you're still going to get an okay price compared to the United States, but in terms of Mexican rentals, this place here is like $750. I know I could probably get it more for like $350 or $400 if I wasn't using Airbnb. What about transportation in Mexico? Can you live in Mexico without knowing Spanish and still get around? And the answer is absolutely. While Spanish, again, is going to be able to help you, negotiate rates in taxis or use the moto taxis, for example, you can still get around without it. There's lots of places where you can use Didi or Uber, or just, use a bike or just walk around, for example. It's totally possible to live here and transport yourself around without knowing Spanish. What if you get sick or need your teeth cleaned or something like that? Can you live in Mexico without knowing Spanish and still have all your healthcare needs covered? The answer is yes. There are plenty of English-speaking doctors, English-speaking dentists. You could go to Cancun and you'll find that there's a lot of places that do dental tourism for people who, say they need like a root canal and they don't want to pay American prices. It's cheaper to fly down, get it done in Cancun, and fly back. So there are lots of ways that you can still get your healthcare needs covered without knowing Spanish in Mexico. What about just talking to people and socializing? Can you live in Mexico without knowing Spanish? Again, the answer is yes. There's a lot of Mexicans who speak English really well. So you could go down to Mexico City and probably spend all day talking to locals who speak English really clearly and really well, and they'll understand everything you say to them. There's also a ton of expats who live down here. There's entire expat communities where I'm sure you could go live and hear nothing but native English spoken all day long. Totally possible. Again, learning Spanish will help you get to know some of the locals. They'll appreciate it, but you don't need Spanish to live in Mexico. If you want to know more about moving to Mexico or living in Mexico, here's a video about moving here on a budget. Here's some video about some residency programs. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Like this video to help it in the algorithm, and I'll see you in another video. Peace.